Alright folks, today we're looking at the big rim drawing. The big rim drawing is one of the very first drawings that we do here in SolidWorks to kind of get us accustomed to playing with some of the tools that we have to use later on in some of the bigger parts. One of the things you'll notice right away on the drawing sheet from the big rim is that it's quite a bit different than the normal layout of our orthographic projections. Let me pull up another one here. So you can see like channel slot, which is a common drawing we do here. Is set up in a normal orthographic projection. So we have a top, we have a front, we have a right side with the isometric up in the right hand corner, and the top, front, and right all align with each other, making it very easy to find dimensions. The big rim is just a little bit different. So one of the things that we need to do is find which view is which, because we still need to associate top, front, right in order to draw this in SolidWorks. A lot of times on a production floor or a fabrication floor, you will get some drawing sheets from time to time that are not set up in orthographic projection. They're simply a scatter plot, and they have dimensions on there and specifications on there that you need to hit, and you kind of got to figure out which view is which. So for this particular drawing, again the big rim, we're right now looking right here at the right side of the object. Over here we actually have the front of the object. These bottom two pieces are actually our orthographic projection. They're just a little bit backwards. So we have our front view and our right side view. Technically you could call it the left side view if you want. It really doesn't matter at that point. But our front view would still be facing up and to the right, so you can see that's what we project here. Our right side view up and to the left. Right here, top view is going to be on a big rim like this. That's something that's cylindrical, the exact same as the right view, so you do not need a top view. What we have next to it over here are these three other views that are representations of this same setup. So right here, the one that has all the hatching in it, we call that a section view. Okay, so a section view, essentially, we're taking the object, we're cutting it in half, and we're showing you its guts, what it's going to look like from the inside. Gives you a little bit more detail as the structure of the object itself. So you can see right here, if we're looking at just a normal right side view with the object line showing, you can't see this inner shape of the rim itself. You don't get to see how this dips in right here. You only get to see the outside shape. And so that section view allows you to see that. So it's just a way of getting to see the product in a little bit more detail. Speaking of detail, these two circles right here on this section B, and actually let me jump back for just a second. We do see section B listed right here on this section view. You can see line B to B. This is a section line. It's cutting right down there. This will show the cutting plane and what that would look like if we use that as the cutting plane. So we also see an E and an F. And right here you see detail E, detail F. Detail E is simply, think of this like a magnifying glass. We've zoomed in and you're seeing what that is. You can actually see this has a little curvature right here at the bottom. It's because there's a circle right here that's cutting it out, and that's following that exact same shape. So this object does actually go beyond this, but for this purpose we're just zoomed into this particular feature. That's why it's called a detail, so we can see more of the inside, we can see closer to it. Then we see detail F, which we zoom in even more and we can explode up. You can also see the scale on both these is slightly different. So this has a scale of 1 to 6. This has a scale of 1 to 4, meaning it's slightly bigger than the 1 to 6. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about material. We're going to be using 1060 alloy, which is an aluminum alloy. Our mass is going to be 112,862.37 grams. So that right there will tell us that this item is going to be in metric. And then we see A and B, which are two variable dimensions, which we'll talk about variable dimensions through class. So A and B. A, we can find right here, shows the width at the top. We can also see shows the half width right here, and then we can also see another dimension that says A plus 40. So this section right here is A plus 40. And then we see B. B is 900. B we find right here, which shows the overall height of the big rim, or you can also think of it as the diameter of the outside circle. Alright, so now that we know how the drawing sheet's laid out, let's go ahead and start building this. So first thing, SolidWorks, File New, part. It does take a second every time you load it up. Once I have part open, first thing I'm going to do is set my units. Every single time, set my units. I'm going to go down here, make sure it's on mmgs, millimeters, grams, seconds. We already know we're going to be weighing it in grams, so we're going to draw it in millimeters as well. Another easy way to tell if you're doing millimeters or inches is simply look at the numbers. Most of the time, if you're using metric, you're going to see a lot of whole numbers. So 30, 60, 45, 20, 200. You're not going to see 200 in inches very often. In that case, you'd be seeing like 10 foot 8, 1.25 inches. You'd be seeing more fractional numbers or decimal numbers, versus in metric you typically see a lot of whole numbers on the dimensions. All right, so we're getting ready to start this. We know that from the drawing, most of our detail right here is actually in the right side view, so that's the side we're going to draw from. So I'm going to set my materials. I've already set my units. So 1060 alloy, that's actually already in my favorites menu, which is awesome. So 1060 alloy. I'm going to go right plane, sketch. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at this drawing right here and I can see it's very, very symmetrical. Okay, I can split it right down the middle vertically. It's the same on both sides. I can split it right down the middle horizontally, and it's the same both top and bottom. So very, very symmetrical, which means I can use my mirror feature a lot, save me a lot of time whenever I'm building this. So first step is I'm going to go up to the top in my sketch menu. I'm going to do center line. I'm going to make it vertical, and I'm going to make it infinite length. I'm going to set it right on the origin. Click, check mark. Okay, so now I have a vertical infinite length line. Close that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this line dynamically mirror. Okay, so what I'm going to do to get that, I'm going to actually put a menu or a toolbar right up here. So I'm going to right click in this big space. I'm going to hit customize. In this menu right here, I'm going to go to commands. I'm going to scroll down to sketch, and you can see all the tools found in SolidWorks are in this menu. I'm going to find sketch, and I find the one that says dynamic mirror entities, and I'm just simply going to drag and drop it into that blank space. I want you to do that on your menu as well. You'll find this tool comes in very, very handy. So I select on that line. Right now you can see this is not active because it's not grayed out. I'm going to select on the line and then select dynamic mirror. You'll see that's now grayed out, so it's active. You also see this line change color. What this does is anytime I now draw a regular line on one side of the object, it's going to automatically mirror to the other side of the object. Back up just a second there. Alright, so dynamic mirror, and let's go ahead and start drawing this. Big suggestion to you is when you're drawing this entire thing, please make sure you're drawing in proportion. Okay, if you draw out of proportion in this one, it will screw up on you quite a bit. So please think about your proportions when you're drawing this. So one of the things I suggest you do right away is kind of figure out your dimensions, your variable dimensions, and how they size out. So I know that I'm only going to draw half this, so I'm only going to draw 450 millimeters tall. I know that I'm only going to draw half this, so I know going from here to here, I'm only going to go 140, because A is 100 plus 40, 140, so that means from here to here is actually only 70. So keep your proportions. You don't have to draw exact numbers, but you need to be close. So line from the origin, going to the right. Come on. Uh-oh, my computer froze. Give it a second. Uh-oh. Hope this doesn't happen to you. I have a few programs running in the background, and they may be messing with my SolidWorks a little bit. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we're going to pull this out where it's right about 70. Doesn't have to be exact, like I said. I'm going to go up. This piece right here is right about 100. I'm going to go up and at an angle. Scroll back out, up a little bit more. I'm going to go up about 220-ish, somewhere in there. Again, doesn't have to be exact. Right here, this is a very important part right here. The top half is not the same thickness as the bottom half, so I want to make sure this blue relation line does not actually snap, because if it does, when I go to Smart Dimension, it's going to restrict that Smart Dimension from being applied. So I want to make sure I'm not selecting on anything that's going to constrain it. For instance, that blue line, or perhaps even that yellow line right there that shows that that will be perpendicular. I don't want either one of those two things to happen, so I'm just going to come out here, boom, going up, going in, going down at an angle, and again trying to stay off those constraints, and then close it out. Right click, select, or in chain. That'll get you out of the menu. You can also hit escape to get out of the menu. And there you go. Alright, so we have our base shape. Does it look exactly like this up here? It's close. It's good enough. It's good enough to actually start going and putting some smart dimensions on it. Okay, so smart dimension. First two dimensions you always put on every single time is your area, your height, and your width. Every single time, those are the first two dimensions. So first one, height. From here to here, we know is 450. Good. Our bottom width, we already said, was A plus 40, so 140. And our top width, from here to here, was A, so we know that to be 100. Okay, so you can see I made mine a little bit too big at the top, and it kind of went a little AWOL on me. That is perfectly fine. Okay, so here's how we fix this. It's a real easy fix. Get out of Smart Dimension. You can get out of there simply by hitting escape on your keyboard. So we hit escape on our keyboard. It got out of Smart Dimension. Next, we're going to zoom in just a little bit, and what you can see right here is you can see one black line and the rest are all blue. If it's black, that means it's defined and you cannot move it. If it's blue, it's underdefined and you can. So you can see I have one black dot, one blue dot. I can simply take that blue point, grab it, and I click and hold, and now I can move that around just a little bit. So I'm going to pull these in a little bit more and kind of give that the shape that I want it to be. Good. All right. So we have our width. I'm going to hit F to zoom to fit. Hit F on the keyboard. It zooms to fit. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting the rest of my dimensions on there. And I like to go biggest to smallest. So looking around here, next biggest dimension I see on here, and I'm going to do the angles last. Next biggest dimension on here is 200, but I only drew from here to here. So actually, I need to dimension, Smart Dimension, from here, 100. Next biggest dimension I see is 60. It's going from here to here. And I could have done from here to here at 30. Either one of those works. See, it's saying overdefined. I do not want that because I already have the 60 on there. And then on here, I don't see any other dimensions that I need except for the angle. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to this top portion. Alright, so we have on this top view, or the top portion of the big rim, we have 45, we have 30, which is measuring from the top here to the bottom right here. 45 is going from this outside edge, and then 20 is measuring this top height, or width, sorry. So, zoom in here. We'll zoom in, and from here we're going to do the outside edge, 45. And again, because we did dynamic mirror earlier on, I only have to do it on one side. I don't need to do it on both. So 45 there. The height of this line we want at 30. And here is another little trick here. Right now this is what we call a linear dimension, meaning it's either vertical or it's horizontal. Pop right there. That's a linear dimension. This is a linear dimension. We also have something called an aligned dimension. A line dimension will put the dimension parallel to wherever the line is. We do not want an aligned dimension because that dimension is actually going to be a little bit bigger than our linear dimension. We want linear at 30, good. And then our last one right here is 20. Now if I zoom out, you can see that I only have 3 blue lines left. Those are my angles. So that's the last thing I'm going to do. Right here, 105 degrees. 105 degrees, 75 degrees. Now when you do angles, I want you to think of it like a protractor. A protractor has 180 degrees of radius. We always have an acute angle, we always have an obtuse angle. If we don't have either one of those, we can only have a right angle left, or a straight line. So acute, obtuse. 105 means it's obtuse. Obtuse, I'm going to select on the vertical line, and I'm going to select on the diagonal line, and that's going to give me the obtuse angle. If I want, I could pull this down here, and it's going to give me the acute angle. So if I put 105 for the obtuse, if I was to go ahead and try to put another dimension on here, you can see that acute angle is automatically set. 105 plus 75 equals 180 degrees. You can actually see the protractor a little bit right there if you look at that angle. Okay, so we have the bottom angle on. Let's go ahead and go up to the top. So again, vertical line, diagonal line. So you always pick either your vertical or your horizontal, and then you pick your diagonal line. So again, that's the obtuse angle, so we're going to do 105. Last one, here to here. And again, right now I have the obtuse, or I can do the acute. So this one has the acute on the dimension page or drawing sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and do the acute. So it said that was 75 degrees. You can now see our drawing is fully defined. If I hit F, I zoom out, I have an all black lines. That means I'm fully defined. So now I need to go ahead and, my 2D is done, I need to make it 3D. So we can see right here, we have a center line that it looks like everything is rotated around our center axis. So I'm going to use features. Instead of extrude boss base like we've been doing with all of our ortho parts, we're going to do revolve boss base. Okay, what are we revolving around? So that's first question I always ask you is the axis of revolution. What are you rotating around? Then I'll ask you your direction. So are you going 360 degrees, 270 degrees? Then the last thing it'll ask you is your selected contours. What do you want to extrude? If I select just this, we get this shape that looks like a bolt pattern. Okay, cool, but it's not right. The reason is our axis of revolution. Right now, axis of revolution automatically selected on the vertical center line. Well, that's not what we want to rotate it around. And so instead, I'm going to select in that box, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to select on the bottom horizontal line. Hey, look at that. Now we only have half our wheel, though, so we need to go ahead and select in contours, select our other side, and now we can see the entire thing. Check mark. Okay, so now we have our part. We can see our revolve. We can open that up. We can see the sketch that we did. And to check it, we're simply going to weigh it. So we want it to weigh 112,862.37 grams. Evaluate. Mass properties. 112,862.37 grams. So we know we did that exactly right. Alright guys, your turn to try.